So without further ado, let's begin today's web seminar, again in partnership with Accounting Fly and hosted by Accounting Today. It's my pleasure to introduce your moderator for today, and that is Dan Hood, Editor-in-Chief of Accounting Today. Dan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Greg, and thank you all for joining us today. We're excited about this webinar and the series that it's part of. I want to introduce we have a set of panelists today. We're a little bit different, not just a single presenter, but three great managing partners from three great firms to talk about careers beyond the Big Four. I'm going to briefly introduce them, but I'm going to give them a little bit of time later in the presentation to introduce themselves and their firms a little bit more fully. But we're joined by Andy Armanino, who's the managing partner of Armanino. They are a California-based firm, well known among many things, for their technology practice, their outsourced CFO services, and we always find it interesting that they own their own PR agency. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We've also got Richard Berkowitz, who's CEO of Berkowitz Pollack Brandt. They're a powerhouse in Florida, well-known and well-regarded among many things for their financial planning services and international tax. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. I'm glad to be here.
And then we've got Bill Hageman, who's managing partner and CEO of Withum Smith & Brown. They're a major player in not just based in New Jersey, but all up and down the Mid-Atlantic region. They're particularly famous for their viral videos, and Bill is famous for his rap and performance skills. Bill, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. Happy to be here.
All right. Like I said, I'm going to give you each a chance to talk a little bit more about yourselves and about your firm and some detail for our attendees, but I want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. We're happy to be able to offer CPE for this session, but there are a couple of rules you need to follow to make sure you get credit. First off, you have to be in attendance for at least 50 minutes. Accounting Today is not responsible for late arrivals or connections issues. There will be a series of polling questions asked throughout the session. You need to answer all of them. We'll explain this as we get to them, but you got to remember to click Submit after you choose your answer. So there'll be a radio button that you hit next to your answer, and then you hit Submit to make sure it registers. If you've completed both of those, you give us 5 business days from the date of today's session, and you'll get an email from sourcemedia@webinarsearch.com. The email will include instructions on how you can download and print your CPE certificate. Please note, certificates will only be sent to attendees who stay for at least 50 minutes and answer all the polling questions. You can email any certificate questions you may have to sourcemedia@webinarsearch.com. We'll also be sending you a set of these slides, so you'll have all these details on those as well. Ordinarily, that would be where I'd stop with a webinar, but we do, like I said, this is part of a special series, so I want to talk briefly about those. It's Advanced 2014, the Accounting Career Summit. This week, we're doing a series of webinars for both job seekers and firms looking to hire young and experienced accountants. There'll be a job seminar on Thursday at Job Fair. It's on a virtual platform called Brazen Connect. It's really great. It's a great way for job seekers and firms to interact, get to know each other, and hopefully make connections that lead to employment. Right now, the deadline for firms to register to have a booth on the Advanced 14 Career Fair is noon today. So if you get a chance, send an email out to whoever at your firm might be wanting to register for that. But job seekers can sign up, I think, right up until the career fair begins on August 14th at 1 p.m. I highly recommend job seekers attend that and firms join in as well, because it'll be a great way to meet those two to connect. With that, I want to start today's web seminar. It's called Careers Beyond the Big Four. If you were on a session yesterday we had with Darren Root, you'll know that the structure of the accounting profession, in a certain sense, is that it drives students from college towards the Big Four. It tends to sort of favor them, among other things. Big Four firms have the presence and the reach and the resources to create large college programs. Career offices at colleges they don't know much about accounting. They'll often direct people towards Big Four because that's who they know. So there's a whole sort of pipeline that sends people, sort of creates the idea in people's minds that the natural pathway is to work for the Big Four. We sort of want to make the point in today's webinar that that's not the case. That's not necessarily the natural pathway. There's nothing wrong with it necessarily, but it needn't be the only way, and that people really need to know a lot more about the other options available, because they're really tremendous. Now, we've stacked the deck a little bit because we brought together really representatives of 3 tremendous firms. They're really serious regional players, and they have great reputations. So like I said, we're stacking the deck by bringing them on board, but I think they can make the case for why people should broaden their perspectives, and why job seekers really shouldn't limit themselves to just the Big Four. So I want to give them each a chance to talk a little bit about themselves and what their firm has to offer. We're going to start with, I'm going to jump around. I got the wrong one. There we go. And I'm going to start with Andy. We're going to go in alphabetical order. Sorry, Andy, I got my slides out of order there for a second. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Armanino, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, Dan. All right. Good morning, everyone, at least where I am. I started out at Santa Clara University, where I was going to be a math major, and I got to about theoretical calculus, woke up and finally said, what the heck am I doing? And decided that I was not going to teach, which I thought I was going to do when I entered college. Decided that I better do something else that earned more money, and I switched over to accounting, which my dad had formed an accounting firm years before, and it's something I understood and came fairly natural to me. So after I graduated Santa Clara, I actually went to work for Arthur Young, which was one of the big 8 at the time. I spent 2.5 years with Arthur Young in the Silicon Valley in San Jose. Enjoyed my time there, but, and we'll talk about this later as we get to some of the questions, I felt like what I was doing didn't make a whole lot of difference, that I was one of the clogs in a big machine. And so I left and I went and joined the firm that my dad had started, which was a little firm of 22 people that had about $3 million in revenue at the time. There I got a unique opportunity to really make a difference. I got a chance at a young age to help lead an audit department. Matter of fact, when I came to the firm, they told me, grow it or go. So I was very motivated to grow it. I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but eventually we did grow the audit practice. I ended up leading the audit practice for about 10 years. We started with 2 of us, and we ended with over 100 people in audit before I became managing partner of our firm about 10 years ago. From there, we went on an aggressive growth trend, both organically, mainly organically. We've grown our firm substantially with just our own growth and an inorganic strategy. Today, we are about $130 million in revenue with about 475 people. We're in San Francisco, San Jose, San Ramon, Portland, Oregon, San Diego, California, and Chicago. I think some of the cool things about our firm is that we have been, with our growth, rapid growth, we have been an employer of choice the whole way. Our people are our focus. They like being here. We found a way to make life-work balance work, which I think has really allowed us to have the growth that we've had. Over the last 5 years, we've been one of the fastest growing firms in the country. Our practice is a little different than some firms. We're about 50% traditional CPA firm, meaning a test and tax practice, and about 50% consulting, which heavily focuses on IT consulting, both implementation, integration, custom programming, with a lot of emphasis of cloud applications. It has allowed us to grow really, really rapidly and offer our clients a diverse set of services. I have been very fortunate to get to have a leadership position in Moore Stephens North America, our association, accounting association, and I have a board seat at Moore Stephens International, which has allowed me over the last 8 years to travel all over the world, to China, to Europe multiple times, to Latin America, to Africa, all over the U.S. and Canada, and I feel very fortunate to have played a role in helping Moore Stephens grow. So that's a little bit about our background.
All right. Thanks very much. Richard, can you tell us a little about yourself and about Berkowitz Pollack Brandt?
Absolutely, Dan. Berkowitz Pollack Brandt celebrates its 35th anniversary next year. Our firm is comprised of 200 advisors and accountants working from Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and Miami. Our firm provides a comprehensive approach to income, estate, financial, and business planning. And we are an integrated practice, also not completely traditional, as Andy mentioned. We have a very, very large tax practice, and we have an integrated financial planning practice, which we started 15 years ago. And now that practice has in excess of $2 billion in assets under advisement. And our affiliate, Providence Wealth Advisors, is a key component in delivering to our clients a wide range of consulting services to high net worth entrepreneurs and clients who we work with in enhancing their wealth. It provides a very, very broad picture for our clients as to how we are able to help them pursue their goals and objectives in business. We have a national reputation in the area of real estate and international tax, and these are two areas that take our practice global. We work with clients on virtually every continent in the world, and we have an incredible group of professionals who have obtained a national and international reputation for tax knowledge. In the real estate arena, we have a specialty in partnerships. We work with some of the largest developers in South Florida and Florida and around the country, not only in office buildings but in commercial property, industrial, and residential. Our litigation practice is one of the top practice, if not the top practice, in South Florida. We've been involved with most of the major cases involved down here, which have gained national prominence. And we also have an affiliate in the real estate area called Bay Bridge Real Estate Group, which is involved with private placements, investment opportunities for our clients, our partners, and our friends. I started the practice 35 years ago. I'm an attorney and a CPA. My career began in a small firm. I spent a year in a small firm and a small local firm, and I think my time at that firm was really the most important learning experience I had, and I will elaborate on that as we go forward in this webinar today. But I spent a year with a small firm. I spent 4 years with a Big Four firm. And then in my second year in law school, I opened up this firm on January 1st, 1980. My philosophy in founding the firm was twofold. It was focused on treating people well and treating clients well, which was counter to what I experienced in the firms that I worked with. And so our firm has a very strong culture of collaboration and fun. Our focus on culture has led us to be named the best of the best firm by Inside Public Accounting 15 times. And we've also been currently honored as a best place to work by Florida Trend Magazine and also by Accounting Today. Thank you, Dan.
All right, thanks. I think it's great you bring that perspective of not just Big Four and mid-sized firm, but also the small firms. So I think it's going to be interesting as we go forward. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Withum Smith & Brown?
Thanks, Dan. I went to school at a very small college in southern New Jersey called Richard Stockton State College. Went there as a commuter. Out of school, wound up working with a firm in a small shore town called Toms River, New Jersey, that I had happened to intern with, and spent about a year with them. In 1980, after only about a year, I got an itch to move on, and wound up finding Withum Smith & Brown. We were about 15 people at the time, and I remember having the perspective of, I'll give this firm a try for 3 to 5 years, and then I'll see what's going on, and was able to within 5 years be a partner, and really never looked back. Today the firm is doing about a little over $100 million in revenue. We have 500 total number of staff. We are in New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Washington, small office down in Orlando, Florida, down in Richard's neck of the woods. And the way our practice breaks down is about 70% of our practice is traditional, which I would call A&A and tax, and that's about 50-50. I mean, 35% A&A, 35% tax. The other 30% is consulting that our partners do with merger and acquisitions, quality of earnings studies, We do about 10% of our practice is in litigation support, which is a combination of valuation and business dispute work. And when you look further beyond services, you look into individual niches. Our largest individual niche is going to be manufacturing and distribution clients. We also, second would be healthcare. We do a fair amount of work in the healthcare arena, primarily for hospitals. Third would be real estate. Personal service corporations would be fourth. That's the architects, engineers, attorneys out there. We do a lot of not-for-profit. However, when we look at our niches, we look at what's fastest growing, and really where we see what's on fire and what our younger staff really enjoy doing is technology. That's showing about a 25–30% growth rate for us here in the Northeast, and the other one that's double digits currently is financial services. So we've been putting a lot of effort into those areas. The firm has been known as having a great culture. We have a very low turnover. Just got the stats yesterday from our HR department. We're June 30th year end. For June 30th, our voluntary turnover rate was 5.8% for the year, which we're very excited about. We spent a lot of time focusing in on staff. Part of our firm culture and philosophy has been that we take care of our staff will take care of our clients. And that is something that has worked since our inception 40 years ago. So we're very excited to be here, Dan, very happy to share anything that we can with the group out there, and I look forward to hearing from the other panelists also.
All right. Thanks very much. Just to put that turnover number in perspective, we had a webinar yesterday with a bunch of HR experts, and they were saying that industry average is somewhere between 16 and 18%. So at 5%, you're really well ahead of everybody. And I think one of the great things about just those three descriptions gives us an idea of the range of experiences available at firms beyond the Big Four. It doesn't, going beyond the Big Four doesn't mean giving up the ability to try a bunch of different things, to get into different niches, to try the whole range of service areas and practice areas that are available to accountants. So I think that was great. A great way to start off. Oh, I've hit the wrong slide there for descriptions. Okay, so as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, the general pipeline in accounting, it tends to be students are led to the Big Four firms. It's not, like I said, it's not good, not bad. It just happens to be the way it is. So given that that's sort of a standard thing, how do you guys go about letting young and also experienced accountants know about your firm? How do you get the word out? Richard, can you kick us off on this?
Sure, Dan. And what's so interesting about the descriptions of the three firms is the incredible diversity of practice that you find in the non-Big Four. And we have to recall that the non-Big Four pretty much divested of all their consulting practices as a result of regulatory issues. And now that they're getting back into those consulting areas, they're doing so with very large organizations that are made up of, usually they're acquiring those practices, and the CPAs in the firm aren't really getting involved with them, but in the practices that you just heard about, the three firms that are on this call, we're all integrating our practices with our consulting practices, and we're looking to CPAs and accountants to be active in doing consulting as well as traditional areas of practice. So it's a very interesting dichotomy. We've gone about trying to let our young people know about what we do as opposed to what the Big Four does through our recruiting program. And about 20 years ago, we committed to campus recruiting with our senior people. We found that when we went out to the colleges, the individuals who were doing the recruiting tended to be the students that had been hired 2 or 3 years before that, the staff and seniors in the firm who had decided they wanted to be involved in recruiting. And while that's a great group to talk to potential students about the firm, we really approached it that our senior people really need to be the ones out there, because they're the ones who really know who should be in the firm and what characteristics and traits they're looking for in people who have been successful with the firm. So I've actually been going out and recruiting now for 20 years. We recruit primarily at 5 different schools in Florida, and we send our senior partners out there. And I think the message we're trying to convey to the students and to the professors and the placement people is that we're committed to bringing the right people into the firm who are going to be as successful as we can anticipate. There's no crystal ball. We'll never know who is actually going to be successful or not. But we all have long experience in teaching young people about our profession. This is an apprenticeship profession, and people learn how to be great professionals by learning from great professionals. So we think that that's a critical element. We also implemented a rotational internship, which is very popular at our campuses, and we take on a couple people each year, and they rotate through the departments. We try to attract the best sophomores and juniors into our firms, and at that point they haven't taken the upper level accounting and tax courses that would enable them to do a lot. But what we try to do is give them they rotate through the departments in our firm so that they get a view of what public accounting is about. And everybody loves the program. At the end of it, they go back to their classes, and it takes on new relevance for them. And it acts as a way for us to let people know about the firm, because they talk about the firm and talk about what they experienced over the summer. So we've had great success with that. We also do summer leadership. We also go to career fairs, and we're active in trying to send our message that public accounting is really a lot more than the Big Four. It really the next 400 firms are really viable and great alternatives and great career opportunities.
Gotcha. All right, Andy, how do you go about getting out the word?
Well, I think it's interesting because for us, we probably have about 10 key campuses that we recruit at, and about 70% of those were incredibly effective. We work well with faculty. We work well with the school. We always compete for top students with the Big Four. We don't take the philosophy that we're going to compete for the best after the Big Four, and we do really, statistically, we hire more of our recruits percentage-wise than the Big Four does at about 7 of our campuses. 3 of them are very difficult, though, and there's something in common with those 3, and they're important schools for us. And it just happens that the faculty at those schools are much older, and they're, I think, have been brought up with the mindset is that you have to go to a Big Four or Big 8 back in time. And our challenge really is working with that faculty, is building relationships with the faculty themselves, letting us get in their classrooms and talk to the students about what their opportunities are out there, presenting different options to the students that really do exist today. And I think a lot of the things that Richard said are right. There are vast differences today than for what a regional firm can offer students than the Big Four. And I think one of the key messages that we continue to have to get out is you want to do something as entering this profession or young accountants that matters. You want your work to matter. You want to be able to stand out. And it's very, very difficult to do that at the Big Four. And so our challenge is really to work with older faculty to make sure that they see the options as well, so we're fairly presented and given equal chance.
Gotcha. All right, Bill?
Well, the only thing just a couple things that I think I can add of value. You know, we also go out to the schools. We do send our younger partners out, and we also send recent graduates out to team up when we're doing some of the on-campus interviews, when we're going to their job fair expos, and we have found that there's a fair amount of value in that. Some of the best people we hire in a firm are coming right out of school these days. We bring in about 35, 40 people a year, bring them in as a class, train them as a class, send them out to the offices, and we hope that they're going to move up through the firm as a group and become colleagues and future partners for us. The other thing in terms of getting the word out is we're pretty big on social media, and we've done a really good job with, as Dan had mentioned earlier, with our videos. Every time we send out a video, which generally happens around January, we'll get a fair amount of job applications in that come in from all over the country, because we are a fun place to work, and the videos help demonstrate that. But we're also on Facebook and Instagram and everything else, Twitter, anything that you could think of. We have a very active social media program that integrates not only our general marketing but as well as our staff development and recruiting.
Great. All right. I think that brings us to our first polling question. That should pop up in the polling question panel over there. What size firm do you work for? Did we get to, oh, I think we got the wrong, well, that's all right. Go ahead and tell us what firm. I think we got the wrong set of questions, but that's all right. It'll be interesting to find out. What size firm do you work for? Is it under 15 employees? Is it 15 to 49 employees? Is it 50 to 249 employees? Or is it more than 250 employees? We'll get those results in a second. It'll take a few minutes for them to tally. I think Greg mentioned at the top of the session, we'll be asking you questions throughout the webinar, but we'll also be taking your questions at the end. We hope to have about 10 minutes at the end where we can get some questions in from you. So you can go ahead and put those in the Q&A panel over on the right-hand side there, and we'll get to as many of them as we can at the end, hopefully. And hopefully, maybe we answer some of them along the way. But like I said, go ahead and post those in. That way it's a little bit of back and forth. It's not just us throwing questions at you. Like I said, you want to hit the radio button next to the answer that most closely represents your answer, and then hit submit. Let's see, I'm trying to think, we've got a goodly number. Go ahead and get a couple of last ones in there. If we close the polls now, you'll have a couple of seconds to get your answer in quickly so that we can get your credit, and then we'll get those results in just a second, and then we'll get back to our panel. So I think we've got a lot of questions we want to get through. My guess, the standard, the vast majority of the accounting audience is under 15 employees, but it may change a little bit given the topic of our presentation. We'll get those results in just a second. Yeah, and it looks it's about 51% are at firms of under 15 employees. So let's go ahead and move on to our next question. This is, we want to ask each of our panelists, what your firm is looking for in an accountant who's just starting their career. Bill, why don't you tell us about what that's like at Withum Smith & Brown?
For us, when we're out at campus, we're looking for a certain grade point average. Generally, you need to be over a 3.0. But pretty much, most importantly, is we want someone that we think wants to be entrepreneurial, wants to be a partner in our firm. We're pretty much hiring for personality. We believe that if, giving a basic level of education, that we're going to be able to teach you the nuances of both A&A and tax, and we can get you trained on that stuff. But what we want is someone that's going to be a good culture fit for us, someone that's going to be excited about providing world-class client service, and someone that wants to build a long-term career with us. We've been very fortunate. We have made a new partner from our ranks for 20 consecutive years, including 3 that just came on July 1st this year, and I think we're going to have 2 or 3 next year. So many years we've had multiple number of candidates. And that's kind of what we have to offer, is we want to try to give people an opportunity to grow, give people to have a place where they can spend their career, and our firm can then grow with them. That's all I got, Dan.
Yep, sorry, no, I was on mute there. I told you this would happen beforehand, that I would forget to unmute myself, and there I've done it. Hopefully that'll be the last time. Richard, what are you guys looking for in an accountant who's just starting their career?
Well, I think one of the most important things we're looking for are people who can solve problems. Solving problems today, you have to have the technical knowledge, and I agree with Bill that we are all of the firms we're here and the firms our size are experts in training. If we can't train our people, we've got serious problems. We're not expecting anybody to come out of college knowing what they're doing. You learn the vocabulary in college, and hopefully you know it well enough that we can use that base to teach you all the technical aspects of the practice. But the key is that in our business today, and as the accounting profession evolves, the issues that we're going to be facing and the problems that we're going to be facing, our people have to be capable of solving those problems. And it's not a lot of students that I interview, they went into accounting because they were good in math and it was a little bit black and white. It's not so gray. But the fact of the matter is the world's gray. And the issues that you face as an accountant are gray, because if anything, it's getting more and more complex, and the knowledge and expertise that you have to be able to use that to solve the issues that you'll face, no matter what area of practice you're involved with in our diverse accounting firms. Andy.
Gotcha. All right, Andy, what are you looking for?
Sorry, Dan.
Nope, no worries. What are you looking for in an accountant who's just starting their career?
Okay, I'm going to sound a little bit like a canary because the folks out there are hearing 3 very entrepreneurial firms, so we look for some of the same things, so I'll make it quick. But for us, some of the keys are, and I quote Colin Powell a lot, General Colin Powell, which I found out at our leadership conference last week that a lot of the students that we had in didn't know who Colin Powell was, but he was a general that was important to us during the Gulf Wars. And I like his quotes, and one of his that I use a lot is, perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. And we very much believe in that here. So we look for positive energy. We look for students and young folks that just have a feel about them, an energy about them, an entrepreneurial spirit, the ability to communicate. This business is people think at times this business is very much about math and head down, but it's not. It's about your ability to communicate with peers and clients. Something else that I bring up always is we look for curiosity. People that want to learn both our profession and how to lead, this perpetual curiosity, always wanting to learn. And the last thing that I think is important advice to young folks in this profession is we preach personal accountability. People who are willing to hold themselves accountable are something really, really important.
Great. All right, so that's what you're looking from them. Let's say, sort of turn around and say, what can they expect from you, or why should a young accountant consider starting a career at a regional or local firm? Andy, let's stick with you.
Okay, so I think the first thing that I want to point out is the world's changed. Our business has changed over since I've been in the profession over the last 25 plus years, is that students and young accountants have more opportunities today than they've ever had before. And that's because of the rise of the regional firms. Regional firms have been getting larger and larger and have more and more capabilities and are really exciting places. They're growing much faster on average than our Big Four counterparts. Years and years ago, when there was a Big 8 and when I was coming out of school, quite frankly, the Big 8 was the best training resource for young accountants. Today, I don't believe that to be true. I believe our training programs are as good or better than the Big Four. So I think the world's changed, and that's the first thing that young accountants have to think about is it's different today. Some of the reasons why I think a young accountant should consider a regional firm is we give a vast amount of experience to people in different things. You get to see more faster. I think your learning curve is substantially faster than our Big Four counterparts. Your knowledge base will be broader. So you might not have the detailed expertise that you would if you went to a Big Four in a specific area, but you'll learn more about business. You'll learn more about how your clients work. The other thing that will happen is you'll get to work directly with more experienced people. People who understand our business and our clients' business will be teaching you directly. So I think that's very, very important. The other thing that I think happens at regional firms is there's an opportunity for young leadership much faster. I always tell people, and I asked this question at our leadership conference last week where we had about 50 sophomore and juniors in from some of our top colleges. I asked them all to raise their hand if they wanted to be mediocre. And you could guess that not too many hands went up. All of you guys see yourself as hopefully not mediocre, as someone who has the potential to be great. And I think if you go to a regional firm, you have an opportunity to stand out much more easily, and that opportunity to shine and be great is greater for you at a regional firm than our Big Four counterparts, where it's just much harder to stand out. So those are some of my thoughts.
Great. I think, Bill, let's go to you.
Sure. I mean, just a couple things I'd like to add is that, I think, what you have when you come to a regional firm is you get flexibility. I mean, we don't pigeonhole people into tax or audit when they come in. They can, as they mature their careers, pick either tax or audit if they want to do 100%. But they can also be a generalist and be very much focused in on, or be very much focused in on a specific industry niche. So I think the flexibility of your career is probably the first thing that we offer. And then it's flexibility of schedule. I think that as you mature through the firm, you're going to find that you can manage your own schedule. Especially after you've been here and you've achieved a level of senior or higher, you'll be able to manage your own schedule. I never missed any one of my children's events. Never missed I coached everything for them, and I was very proud of that. They were able to provide them and we continue to provide our staff with the flexibility to be able to have great work-life balance, and a work-life balance that they feel they can essentially define the job, how much they want to work, how much they don't want to work, how fast they want to move their career up through the ranks. We give them tools and we give them the platform to be able to grow and accomplish that. So what you don't find in a regional firm that you're going to find in a Big Four firm is a lot of bureaucracy. And you will find a lot more entrepreneurship. And so if you're a self-starter, you're going to get frustrated in a Big Four environment, but in a regional firm, the sky's the limit.
Gotcha. Richard?
Dan, I think I can just add two quick things. One is that when the Big Four, when you look at the partners in the firm, they have to manage a client workload of, I don't know exactly what the number is today, but it's in the $4 or $5 million range, and probably in our firms, it's half of that. And the only point of that illustration is that there's a lot more involvement by the partners with all of the people in the firm on a deeper basis. And the second part of it is I believe the career review aspect of it is our firms I believe are much more involved in helping people develop long-term careers. And a lot of people in the Big Four and a lot of professors will say this right out. This is something you want to do to build your resume so that you can move on into another area. And I think our focus is on building careers, and the Big Four is not so much in there's a lot. The ratio of people who come into the Big Four and actually make it to partner is probably a much smaller percentage than those who come to our firms.
Gotcha. All right, we're running a little over time, so I'm going to skip to our next polling question very quickly, and this is going to be, what matters to you most in a job? Is it compensation? Is it career opportunities? Is it work-life balance? Or is it other priorities? Go ahead and click the radio button that most closely represents your choice and hit submit. You got to pick one, even if they're all equal. Choose one. We won't hold you to it. We'll get those results in a second, gentlemen. Like I said, we're a little bit over time, so we've talked a lot about particularly what entry-level accountants are able to find in firms beyond the Big Four. I'd like to talk a little bit about experienced accountants, so I'm going to skip a question. I hope you don't mind, but because I also want to make sure we have time to get to our attendees' questions, some of those at the end. Why don't we go ahead and close the polls? If you get your answer in real quick if you can. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the radio button, hit submit. We'll get those answers in a minute. I'm sort of looking forward to seeing what our audience most values. My guess is compensation. Again, we won't hold you to it. But then we'll move on to another question, and we do have some audience questions, and we'll hopefully get to some of those at the end of the session. So I think where we're going to go next, it looks like, work-life balance is actually over half value work-life balance, and only 6% said compensation. I don't know if they think they're going to be held to that, or that we're going to send that information to their bosses, so they'll be able to use it against them at their next negotiating session. Anyways, so let's, like I said, I'm going to skip one question. I'm sorry about that, but I want to talk a little bit about what experienced accountants can look for beyond the Big Four. So, Andy, I want to start with you. Does your firm hire experienced accountants from Big Four firms, and what do you have to offer them?
Yeah, we do. And that last polling question, I think it's not mutually exclusive. Yeah, we hire a lot of people from the Big Four as experienced hires. Our growth rate is really rapid here, double digits basically every year. I think over the last 10 years, we've averaged approximately 15% growth here. So we hire a lot of young people out of school every year, but we also have to supplement with experienced hires because of our growth. So what we offer, I think, experienced hires is that rapid growth rate and ability to grow very, very rapidly in their own careers. No ceilings that some of our Big Four counterparts put on people due to age and due to level. If you're ready to do more here, you will do more here, and we'll be excited about it. So the potential to lead at an early age, the diversity of learning that we talked about before. We also have an awesome leadership academy here to get people ready. We need more partners. We need more leaders here. We're not afraid of leadership and young leadership, so we want to get people ready as soon as possible. We have a concept here that we do want to attract entrepreneurs. We just want them to be entrepreneurs within the firm. So we always tell them you can do what entrepreneurs do. We'll just lower the risk for you. You'll get to do it inside an organization that has a lot of resources. One quick example of that is we have a 27-year-old here who came to us as an experienced hire who had an idea about an equity outsourcing business that he thought he could grow. We told him to write up a plan for us. He did. We empowered him to lead this group. It started at nothing 2 years ago. He has grown it to over $1 million in revenue today. He's 27 and been promoted to senior manager here. I'm convinced he'll make partner by 29. And it's just one example of breaking the rules in terms of some of the Big Four rules about age and experience. So lots of things I think that are real positives for a growing regional firm.
Great. Bill, do you guys hire experienced accountants from Big Four firms, and what are you offering them if you do?
We do hire them. You know, I'll be honest, we haven't had great experience with hiring Big Four firms. I don't know if it's because of where we are up here in the Northeast. We don't see a ton of candidates at the early ages. Where we see them is at the manager, partner level, and they tend to not adapt well to our culture after they've been with the Big Four for 10 years or so. So we look at them. We would really be excited about hiring some 1- and 2-year people. What we do when the occasion does happen, where what we give them is better flexibility. They don't have to work as many hours. Up in the Northeast here, they're expecting their Big Four young accountants to put in somewhere between 2,100 and 2,200 chargeable hours, and our average is significantly lower than that. So the ability to give them work-life balance, to give them a little bit of an off-season. We're not as busy in the summer as we are during busy season. We're not as busy in December as we are during busy season. So there are some breaks in their schedule where they could sit back and relax and catch a breath. So I think that's primarily what we offer them, as well as what we've always spoken about in terms of offering the entry-level people, which is an opportunity to grow and be entrepreneurial.
Excellent. Richard, how about you?
We've had some great success. I keep in touch with our people who are experienced and have come to the firm. I think their they're very, very happy with the culture that they get integrated into very quickly here, and they enjoy the interaction that they have, and also the level of work seems to be very different. In the Big Four, because of the size of clients, there tends to be a little bit more narrow expertise that's required, and when you come to a regional firm like ours, you're working on a little broader canvas. So they enjoy the diversity, they enjoy the learning challenge and the learning experience. So we've had some good luck, and we're always looking for great people.
All right. We're going to go, we're going to take audience questions in just a minute. I want to give you all sort of one last chance, because we're compressing these questions a little bit because we're getting close to the hour. But I just want you to each get a chance to sort of sign off on, what sort of opportunities are unique to firms like yours. I want you to sort of give our attendees an idea of what really makes your type of firms stand out. Bill, can you kick us off on this? That's the...
Well, I think we've really spoken about a lot of it already, Dan. I think the ability to work your way to partner, the ability to be an entrepreneur, the ability to have flex. I think Andy spoke earlier about what a great career this has been. I've had very similar experiences. When I graduated college 30-plus years ago, I never thought I would be making what I'm making today. I never thought I would have traveled the world. I never thought I'd make some great friends with all the great clients that we've had. To be able to have an impact on those clients, to be able to be their trusted advisor, I think that's a uniqueness that you have in a regional firm and even a smaller firm that you don't have in the Big Four. You get your clients become your friends for life. You get to watch them build their business, help them be great entrepreneurs, see them sell their business in many cases. Have them, build another one and sell another one, and that's very exciting. You don't know what's going to happen every day, and it makes it fun to come into work every day.
Excellent, Richard.
Dan, I think that when you look at the types of clients that we have, we're looking for high net worth entrepreneurs who are they're serial entrepreneurs. They're always creating, they're always developing, they're always challenging, and the Big Four client is a shareholder, effectively. It's a management group, and it's not that we don't work on large companies with shareholder groups or public companies. It's just that the focus of the two firms, the Big Four versus the next 100 or so, is a little bit different, and so that opportunity to be out there and working with entrepreneurs, as Bill said, is a wonderful opportunity, and you get involved with some great people. Some of the other things is because we all focus on culture and making our firms different and making our firms more attractive. We have things like we have a Toastmasters club, we have a retention advisory board that people work on in the firm to make sure that we are listening and hearing what people have to say about why they want to be here and whether they have any issues. We have people involved in all levels of leadership in the firm because we want to teach leadership. We want to teach people how to be leaders. So I think that we're more active in developing people and also helping our people develop careers in public accounting, because public accounting is a great place to have a career because of all the diversity we talked about. And Bill's comment about all the things that he's accomplished in his career is true for many, many, many of us at this level of practice.
All right. Well, I want to get, like I said, I want to get to some attendee questions, but we got to get a polling question in here real quick. We just may ask the questions over, but the question itself is, would you consider working in a firm that was significantly different from the one you work at now, either much bigger or much smaller? Yes, no. Go ahead and put an answer in there. We'll get those results. But I want to go straight to our attendee questions because they're interesting, and I want to get a couple in before we go. Let's start with someone who's asking about recruiting manager. How are you going about recruiting manager level staff? This is a big issue for a lot of firms, finding 3 to 5 year, finding experienced people. Are you guys finding it difficult to recruit managing level staff? Are you, and if you are, how are you going about it? Richard, can you give us a little insight there?
Absolutely, because if you look at the numbers of graduates of accounting students 5 years ago, during the recession, what you'll find is that there were less students in the accounting schools at that point in time. And so now 5 years later, there are less people out in public accounting because we were hiring less people at that point. And so now everybody, it's this roller coaster that we have had in terms of the economy, that during good times we hire more, during times that are not as good, and particularly for the recession that we had, there wasn't as much hiring going on. So there's a tremendous need in that area now. And we're looking to the people in our firm to refer people to us. We compensate people for that. We're out in social media. We're recruiting everywhere we can because it's so difficult to find great people given the issues with what happened during the recession.
Right, so many people dropping out. Let's go ahead and close those polls. We'll get those results. It looks like the vast majority of almost 2/3 of people are saying that they would definitely work in a firm that was significantly different size than the one they're in, which is good news. I did have a question specifically for Bill. They were asking about, if I can find it, recruitment in terms of social media efforts. Do you have a notion of percentage maybe of recruiting that comes through your social media, when drawing in from videos, but also your other social media outlets? And then is there a particular person who's responsible for that?
Yes, we do have a person who is responsible for it. One of the young ladies in our marketing department is our social media coordinator and handles all of our social media efforts, both internally and externally. I do not have a percentage off the top of my head because we do a lot of that at campuses. I would say it's probably 10 to 15% of our hires are coming through social media efforts. In many instances, it's also a very good support for our on-campus recruiting, because the kids go look us up on social media, and it helps. And we have been able to build brand name recognition through that.
Gotcha. And just one thing I would add there, you're talking about having someone who's specifically responsible for it. I think one of the keys for a lot of those social media efforts is consistency of effort. So it really is it makes a lot of sense to have someone who's responsible for it on a regular basis. Let's move on to another question. I'm going to rephrase this question slightly. Someone was asking if you guys have any thoughts as to why the Big Four firms prefer hiring on traditional campuses rather than private universities like University of Phoenix, and I guess that means online universities. I'm going to switch that a little bit and say, do you guys have any preferences for or against? I mean, in terms of that kind of education, is that an issue for you? Andy, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that question's interesting because, quite frankly, we are probably like the Big Four, and we like to touch and feel the students. And so the ability to do that at a traditional campus has been much easier, at least to date, than some of the online or new educational opportunities out there. And so I understand the dilemma, and I think it'll be something that we'll have to deal with as a profession going forward. There's probably a great opportunity for us there when I saw that question.
Gotcha. Well, we're hoping to, tomorrow's career fair, or Thursday's career fair, we're hoping to take care of some of that. You'll see the slide up there. We're hoping that this platform it's not exactly the same as being in person, but hopefully it will get rid of some of the problems of the online-only connection. Quick question sort of for everybody. Do any of you have consulting groups that are separate entities to protect from legal exposure? In other words, is investment management or litigation support, are they set up as sort of independent entities? Bill, do you guys have any of those kind of structures?
Our consulting is currently part of our practice. We are investigating bringing in a team of consultants that would be a separate entity. Our investment management is a separate entity that we have a minority interest in.
Gotcha. Richard?
Dan, the investment management group has to be, from a regulatory standpoint, a separate entity because it's regulated by different regulators. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with our real estate group. So both of our affiliates are separate entities.
Gotcha. Andy?
Our investment management entity is separate. Other than that, our consulting group is part of the overall firm.
Gotcha. All right. Someone asked, are your partners, I think this may be the last question we get to because we're just getting near the top of the hour. And someone was asking, are your partners involved as career coaches for new hires and then through manager levels? Bill, I don't know if you may need to jump off, I know.
Yes. the answer is yes. It's something that we're big on. Is our partners need to be coaching our staff, especially our superstars. So we do go through the process of identifying our bench strength. We go through the process of identifying our all-stars and making sure there is a partner that is responsible for bringing them up through the partner level.
Gotcha. Andy, how's your career coaches and at what levels?
Yeah, so similar to Bill is our partners in general are involved with managers and are coaching our up-and-coming managers, though we have made it a priority here for our superstars. The partners get involved at an earlier age with them. Matter of fact, I went to one of our supervising seniors yesterday, sat her down, and said, hey, I just want to know how you're doing, how things are going, because I know you're going to be my partner someday. You're that good.
Wow.
And that certainly has an influence on people.
Excellent. Richard, I'm going to give you the last word, and because we're just getting to the top of the hour.
We found that there are certain people who are very good at this and certain partners who are not. And so we focus on, we try to define who is and who is not, and then given the constraints on their time, we also approach a certain group of people that we identify as our bench strength and make sure that they are well coached.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Bill, Andy, and Richard. Thank you so much for joining us. Great insights, great information, and I think give people a great idea of what's available beyond the Big Four. I want to encourage all of you to join us for the rest of the webinars in this series and also for the career fair. I want to thank our panelists again, and I want to thank you for attending. We hope to see you at another webinar soon.